the heart and soul behind every business. Stories. Welcome to Business Story of the Week, hosted by me, Joshua Laurie. From setbacks to comebacks, from tragedies to triumphs, we inspire entrepreneurs through conversations that matter. Witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. Whether it's your career, business, or life, your success is always one story away. This is Business Story of the Week. And welcome back, folks. Welcome back to Business Story of the Week. I am your host, Joshua. And today's question is: what is the secret to turning dreams into reality across so many different fields? Well, I think we got just right the man to answer that question today, because Daniel Joseph is the dream catcher, a multifaceted man of manifestation who has actually made many of his dreams come true. I'm very interested to talk about all of that today. His talents include being a published author, professional actor, and voiceover artist. He is an award winning filmmaker, experienced hip hop artist, annual festival, and event host, with being a 20-year sales professional. He has opened for acts and legendary hip hop acts like the legendary Cannabis, opened for international talents like Swollen Members, D12, Chamillionaire, Cypress Hill, and Nelly. And he's he's a published author, three books out, one coming out soon. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm quite excited for this guest today. I hope you are too. Daniel, thank you for coming on the show. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me, Joshua, and that blessed intro. I appreciate it. And thank you for reaching out and giving me the opportunity to reach out to your audiences and the masses. I'm doing fantastic.
It's fantastic. I mean, I'm quite excited. I've got so many questions, I want to get into it right away. But before we do, Daniel, I always start at the very beginning. Where did
Okay.
this all begin? Where did Daniel Joseph's story begin? Did you know you were always going to be a filmmaker? Did you know you were always going to be into hip hop? Where does this sales professional career begin? It's so many fields, so many directions. But where did it all start? What is the story
Yeah,
of Daniel Joseph?
I appreciate the insightful question. Yeah, the origin story. So coming up, my dad was always heavily involved in getting me musical instruments
Mm-hmm.
and tools that I could use for various parts of the art. When I was young, he took me out on Star Search, which is kind of like American Idol back in the
Wow.
late '80s, early '90s.
Wow.
And I had a rap group back in the early '90s called Blackout Boys, and we were inspired by
Hmm.
Chris Cross. If you don't know Chris Cross, look them up. Their big song was Jump. They
Okay.
wore the clothes backwards, but they were kid rappers, and they
Hmm.
inspired us of like these guys can be rappers, so could we. And so
Hmm.
I got into music from a young age. My dad gave me my first video camera. Like my mom and dad, they supported me on any endeavor I had, right? So having a film camera, one of those old school VHS ones for your audience that don't know VHS, it's a giant tape and you'd wear a 20-pound camera and you'd shoot in
Hmm.
chronological order because there was no editing equipment really back then. And we would make movies around with kids in the complex. And those were kind of my
Hmm.
first steps into music and
Hmm.
filmmaking.
Hmm.
And from there, I really just started going out to do extra work, background work for major
Right.
motion pictures and television shows in the mid '90s through high school. And my
Hmm.
love of acting, being in drama class, that's always kind of flourished. And kind of fast forward a little bit, we get into the late '90s. Now I'm getting into my own hip hop scene. I'm starting to do battles. I'm starting to
Wow.
perform here in Vancouver for radio stations. And that's what kind of got my foot wet in terms of doing my own shows. And during this whole time, I'm still doing some of the acting, but
Right.
it really kind of started from there from grassroots of doing my own stuff, making my own content, and then getting opportunities to connect with people and do it on a more professional level.
So ever since you were young, you've always been in touch with your creative side, thanks to your father and thanks to his encouragement, to your parents, of course, always supporting whichever you wanted to do. And
Yeah.
wow, I mean, very musically inclined at the very start, very involved in the hip hop scene, very young age, and always, you've been into acting already. How about a little bit on the author side? When did you start, on this particular path? And you have a new book coming out, a your third published book, which is a children's book. There, your A to Z, who you are, is titled. Why children's book in particular as well?
Sure. So I got into published, art forms of literature in my early 20s, in kind of the early 2000s. So I was taking some courses at Langara College here, got very fascinated with psychology and particularly with dreams. And so for 2 years, I did a dream journal where I was basically putting an entry in for all of my dreams. And it was an experiment on the effect of drugs and alcohol on my dream recall. And from there, it actually kind of then grew into me studying more about dreams and the power of
Wow.
dreams. Everything
Hmm.
from pharaohs and kings would utilize dream interpreters to predict famine and
Hmm.
war and disease. My name is Daniel Joseph, and I'm not a religious person, but from a biblical aspect, Daniel
Hmm.
in the lion's den was a dream interpreter, and Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat, he also was someone who utilized dreams to
Yes.
predict things for pharaohs and kings. And so I
Hmm.
felt it was serendipitous that as a hip hop artist, my alias is Dangerous, but I kind of started to pivot towards being Dangerous the Dreamcatcher, and that was the name of my third album.
Yes. Hmm.
And doing this research on dreams is what then inspired me to take this journal of 2 years of dream entries
Wow.
and put it into then a book, and which I published in 2011, Me, My Dreams, and
Hmm.
I.
Me, my dreams,
Uh,
and I. There you
yeah.
go.
And
Mhm.
then from there, it was just about always reading. I read a lot of books. I encourage everyone
Mhm.
at home listening and watching, do a journal. Journal every day of your thoughts and the decompression of your mind. But if you're ever experimenting on recalling your dreams, do a dream journal. But what I also do is I do a book journal. So I document
Wow.
all the books I've read. So since about 2001, I've read 174 books. It's
Wow.
sometimes it's long books, seven, 800 Goliath kind of books, and sometimes it's thinner books. But I always
Mhm.
had a love for reading. Readers are leaders and leaders are readers. And so I think when
Wow.
you absorb the information within the pages, you're just providing more essence to your own knowledge. And my father's a journaler too, so he's been journaling for decades. And so my second book,
Interesting.
Wise Words from a Father,
Wow.
I took time to decompress reading his journals and wrote a book with my interpretation of his entries around life and love and sex and politics and religion and faith and
Wow.
philosophy. And it's funny, Joshua, because during the process of writing that second book,
Hmm.
I became a father. So now it's this
Oh, wow.
multi generational piece of literature because I wrote a whole second part of the book around me giving my son advice. So wise words from a father, it could be like, father as in the metaphorical higher power of things, but then it's
Yes.
also
Yes.
my father is my biological father, and then
Hmm.
me becoming now a dad myself to then offer my son some words of wisdom. And that book I published in 2021, which
Wow.
full circle now brings us to I'm a dad. I'm reading alphabet books and these nursery rhyme books for kids, and I'm like,
Right.
these are real basic. These are super
Hmm.
super basic. And having
Hmm.
the hip hop background, I thought utilizing my vocabulary and my
Hmm.
intelligible terminology, I can almost put forth a synergy between writing and poetry and that
Right.
vocabulary as a wordsmith. And that's really where it came to be that I'm going to write this empowering book. I'm like the Tony
Right.
Robbins of hip hop, I sometimes tell people. So I'm trying to create music that's inspiring. I'm trying to
Right.
make movies that are motivational. And also the
Hmm.
books that I write, I want you to be able to take something from it that can benefit your life. And so this
Hmm.
A to Z of who you are will be an empowering book for children to
Wow.
expand their vocabulary on learning the alphabet while giving them the affirmations of like, you are brave. Like you
Wow.
are knowledgeable. You have success
Beautiful.
that you don't even know yet. And so that's
Yeah.
I'm very excited for that. I'm still looking for publishers, or I'll self-publish it if I don't find I get the right publishing partner. And both can be very rewarding. But
Mhm.
excited for the book for sure, Joshua.
That is what a story. First of all, you truly are Joseph, the dream catcher, or to be more precise, dangerous, the dream catcher. That's quite cool, but it's also much even more cooler and remarkable how you turned all your experiences, not just yours, not just your dreams, but your father's dreams and just your father's journaling as well. You turned them into, something tangible, something that's being written.
Mm,
You're telling that story to the world, because it's one thing to journal, it's another thing, I would say, to put down your dreams as well and turn them into reality. This is literally your story, and I'm all for that. It's very remarkable. I'm all for journaling. I love journaling. I
yeah,
I you know I recommend that to everyone. I recommend that to all our audience and listeners. Get into it. Pour your heart out. Pour your heart and soul into that. But even more interesting that you actually went and got into. You took your experiences in life all the way to being a father, to nursery rhymes, to children's book, and to now releasing that third book. Very, very inspiring story. Thank you so much for that. Um,
of course. It's empowering. Like I encourage
yeah,
everyone to like think about writing a book because we all have an amazing
yeah,
story to tell and we are our
yes,
own individual. Wherever you go, there you are. And I would say
yes,
have
yes.
the courage and the bravery to share your story. And it starts with an idea. It works into a sentence and then a
Mm-hmm.
paragraph and then a page and then a few pages, some chapters, some sections. And then next thing you know, brick by brick, page by page, as the metaphor goes, you've got yourself a book. But it's about that incremental growth that you do little bit by every day as you chisel to be the Adonis that you wish to be.
That's fantastic. The Adonis that you wish to be, bit by bit, word by word, that you put in every day. Very, very, very enriching to your soul and what you needed. It's again, we're both preaching to the choir here. We love
Yeah,
that. We both love the journaling. I want to move a little bit to your acting career. You've been in drama
sure.
for most of your life. You've been doing it since you were little. Now you also are, you know, you not only acted, you got into shows like you got into television shows like iZombie, Arrow. You were also in Untold Stories of the ER. You've been in a bunch of those.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit how you started into the acting, but also segue that into how you started into filmmaking as well.
Sure, I appreciate that. So, as someone who's grown up making my own movies, I've always had that love for film. And if I'm reaching out to anyone right now who's an aspiring actor or filmmaker, again, it's
Mhm.
just like the author and the pages. You just got to get started. Start off by making your own skits, your own little short
Mhm.
films, 2 minute, 3 minute, especially now because now people's attention span is so kind of finite that micro content is where it's at. People, the shorts and the things that you see like on TikTok and on YouTube and on Instagram, it's all not just long form content, it's short form content. So it's even
Yeah.
more of an opportune time for you to create little snippets of information and edutainment, educating, and
Mhm.
entertaining. And what I'd say is that for myself, you got to start somewhere. So if I'm looking to like reverse engineer for anyone at home, you got to go out and you've got to learn the industry. So doing extra work or background work is a great way to get
Mhm.
on set, get paid for it, and learn about the nuances. From there, you want to start to build a demo reel. That starts with just doing free work, going out to
Right.
Vancouver Film School and Capilano
Mhm.
College and film schools in your town that you can go out and meet aspiring filmmakers and directors and audition, practice that craft of auditioning, getting roles, and then getting all of that content, that footage for the roles that you do get. And you start off with building a demo reel that you can then take to an agent and then start to build your credits. And you'll start off doing commercials and things of that nature, just like I did. One of my first gigs I booked was just an insurance commercial where it's like, I was severely injured in a car accident, but Joshua, and Lori got me $50,000.
Mm.
Thank you. Like, and goes from there to get roles where it's a meteor, where it's an actual character, and you're building an idea around it with choices and decisions and fears
Interesting.
and goals. And again, you're starting off from a small part of trying to get some one liners and moving up to where you can be a principal actor, and getting onto the union of being at least an apprentice. And that's kind of the road I took. But again, it starts with just putting in the work, practicing, and from there, even if you're booking with an agent, still make your own content
Of
if
course.
that's what you enjoy doing. I love making films, just like I love
Mhm.
acting in them. I also love being behind the camera and setting up shots and
Right.
directing other actors. And so I've made a bunch of short films, and one in particular, Nano. I was doing some traveling for work and
Right.
would find myself in some places like Las Vegas and New York. And the
Mhm.
colleague of mine who I worked with, Arvind, who's another great actor, Arvind Johal,
Mhm.
we would then create some scenes being in Las Vegas on the Strip, or in front of Trump Tower, or at town at Central Park, and we would shoot these scenes, and we put together this amazing movie called Nano, and I submitted to so many festivals and became an award-winning filmmaker. So as from an aspirational kind of feeling, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that aspirational feeling for your soul is so important. It doesn't matter about money and accolades. It's about that feeling you get from accomplishing something that was very, passionate driven. And still acting on the side, but doing your own film, and being able to be an award-winning filmmaker now for directing in a few
Mhm.
film festivals and
Mhm.
producing, it's wonderful. And that can again now build your portfolio for doing bigger stuff. So in
Right.
2015, I produced this feature film called When the Wheels Fall Off. I play a
Right.
role in it as well, Skinny, the villain, but
Mhm.
it gives me the chops to then go and look for bigger projects. And
Right.
I know I'm running on a little bit here, but
Oh, it's fine.
the second feature that I got involved with is a documentary called Van City Raps, and I was
Yep.
brought on board first and foremost as a hip hop artist,
Yep.
to
Mhm.
tell my story, and then from
Mhm.
there, um, I explained to the director and the other producers, like, hey, I produced a feature film. I'm in sales. I think I've got some experiences that could help you to hopefully market this, and we're still trying to market it. Our representation down in LA is at Cannes right now, trying to
Mhm.
pitch the film. If you haven't seen the trailer, I'm sure Joshua will share it with you guys. But Van City
Mhm.
Raps is all about this journey of these two guys hanging out, watching, like Netflix, and looking for
Mhm.
something to watch, and coming across this documentary. And as you watch this documentary, you see that it's got these kind of nuanced stories beyond
Right.
just like a typical documentary of like highlighting
Mhm.
artists. So it's very cool. It talks about the hip hop scene and some of the greats like Emotions and Mocha Only from Swollen Members who really
Mhm.
came up, as well as giving the stories and platform for up and coming artists to share their
Mhm.
stories too with Van City Rap. So
Mhm.
it's a big passion of mine, to share stories, tell stories, and give other opportunities for people to do the same.
That's very, very interesting. First of all, congratulations. Of course, Van City Raps is a winner of the Best Canadian Documentary in 2022 in Vancouver Independent Film Festival. Your film Nano also won a winning producer and director award for that as well. So, I mean, Daniel, you have made dreams into your reality. I've mentioned this in the introduction, and I wanted to ask you about action. Like action items. So, how do you turn dreams into reality? And you actually answered that when
Yes,
it comes to acting, when it comes to filmmaking. You know, do what you love, do what you want to do, even if, no matter how small it is. They could, s- y- they could spiral, or they could turn big, and they could you could achieve your
absolutely.
reality no matter how small they are.
Absolutely, Joshua. It's just starts with that little bit. I have this one LinkedIn post that went a little bit viral called "Put It Out There,"
Mhm.
and I tell this
Mhm.
story of a few years back before the pandemic. I went down for a Tony Robbins conference,
Mhm.
and my wife and I, before going to the conference, we did the tourism stuff that you do. You go up to see the Hollywood sign, you go down to the Strip and see the stars on the street, and we went to Madame Tussauds Wax Museum, and there was a picture of Vin Diesel. And I kind of got the same kind of to look. So I went and I stood next to him and took a picture. And back then I was on social media like Twitter and Instagram. And so while
Mhm.
in LA, I start trolling him, saying, "Oh, you're an imposter." And
Mhm.
while I'm down there, a day
Uh-huh.
later, my agent calls me and says, "Justin Lin from Fast and Furious wants you to audition for the new
Whoa.
Fast and Furious 9 movie." And so
Okay.
to me, I'm like, that mechanism of posting that picture, reaching out to Vin, and then getting this audition within like a 24-hour span, like it
Mhm.
had to have been connected. But it started with me putting it out there. Now, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie, it went to John Cena. Good choice. I didn't get the
Wow.
part, but the opportunity to have got to audition and be involved in that process just by putting it out there is a big believer of why I think people should just put it out there. Have big audacious goals.
Mhm.
The worst thing that can happen is someone says no, or it just doesn't happen.
Precisely.
I got a line. I say, reach for the moon, shoot for the stars. Worst thing that can happen is you moonwalk on Mars.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
so think big, and amazing things can happen. And you were talking about dreams, and I wanted to share one other anecdote
Please,
with your
please.
audience. When I was coming up in hip hop,
Hmm.
my room was a giant vision board. And I'm a big believer in vision boards and the power of visualization.
Hmm.
And magazine covers of all my hip hop artists from The Source
Right.
and Double XL magazines, from hip hop's legends like Tupac and Biggie and Wu Tang and
Hmm.
Snoop and Nas and LL
Hmm.
Cool J and Cannabis and Eminem. And I was seeing this every single day. Like, we're talking my roof, we're talking all of my walls. It was a three-dimensional vision board that I lived in, immersed in. And
Wow.
I would dream about this. And so my dream book has all these dreams about me interacting with these, icons of hip hop. And
Mhm.
when I say my dreams literally came true, I mean, I have proof in the books that
Let's go.
dreams that I had with cannabis
Hmm.
came to be. I'd have dreams of
Wow.
of hanging out with him and interacting with him. And these dreams literally, like deja vu, which is like a dream that
Wow.
comes true. That I open up for him. We shoot a music video, the Dreamcatcher, together, which is the song we first collaborated on. And to be the opener for him, but then to perform for him and shoot a music video, to go from being a fan to then being a collaborator and a colleague, and
Mhm.
even someone who is like a mentor and friend to me. It's one of like the peaks of my career. Although I opened for Nelly, and that was probably one of my biggest shows in terms of people and marquee name, but the resonance that I got for performing with cannabis, and shooting that, and the next day we took him out for his birthday, and I remember just like
There we go.
being side by side with him, and I'm like, I literally made my dreams come true on two stages of being on stage with him, and then kind of being like a close and personal friend as we like chopping it up at the Tabanaki joint, hearing these stories of him and Common and Mos Def and all these hip hop illustrious and the interactions. And so I'm a big believer of like, you got to put it out there. You
Hmm.
you just got to be courageous enough to do so. Of course, you then have to put in the work and the actions behind it.
Of
There's a
course.
saying that starts with your thoughts, then becomes the words you tell yourself, the words you tell
Yes.
others. Then it's
Yes.
the actions you take, but not just actions, but
Hmm.
habits, the continuous actions that habitually will bring you to your destiny.
There you go. Words, the words that you tell yourself, the words that you tell others, the actions, but more importantly, are the habits. Because it's one thing to dream, but it's another thing to actually turn them into reality. And that's exactly what you did. It's fantastic. Like, I mean, this is such a quite the story. We're hearing it from not only a dreamer, but a dream catcher and a reality maker like yourself. It's fantastic. Thank you for all of this, Joseph. um, Daniel, Dangerous, all these facets of yours and all these identities of yours. Congratulations, by the way, on the
Oh, thank
Vin
you.
Diesel, Vin Diesel audition, Justin Lin audition. I mean, that's quite the story to tell, but also inspiring because just put yourself out there, just put it out, be courageous,
Put
have
it out
big
there.
dreams. Again,
Yes.
embrace it, embrace what you
Hmm.
want, just put it out there. Who knows, you probably hit on a stone, hit on one thing, and then it spirals from there. Once again, Daniel, you have a big one coming out, you have a big film coming out, and upcoming action thriller. It's called The Guardian, and this one's
Yes.
really big. You have submitted to film festivals already. Talk to us a bit about that.
Yeah, thank you. So when I partnered with Pale Thomas for Van City Raps,
Hmm.
who's the director of that project,
Right.
we talked about me getting involved on the acting tip for a new film he was working on. And this film, The Guardian, it's like the Canadian Jason Bourne. That's the kind of vibe it has. Shot in Canada, Canadian actors, Canadian crew. And I came on board, auditioned for a few roles, and landed as this Senator Robert Gates, who is going to get into some trouble based on a plant that someone puts on me and get some precarious pictures of me. That's the little rundown I'll give you on him. And
Hmm.
besides being in front of the camera, I then talked to him about being a producer again on it, and of course he was happy to have me on, and I'm excited for this, both being an actor, but also then being as a producer. But what's cool too is I've got some new music. So Dangerous is going to be in the movie with a couple new songs as
Ah,
well for
let's
the
go.
soundtrack.
Hmm.
This film, it's a feature film. It's 90 minutes of adrenaline, all about this character, the Guardian, who you're going to learn a lot of why he does the things he does to
Right.
protect people that he loves and the
Hmm.
general public. And it's a movie of espionage and intrigue, and it's got lots of Easter eggs in there, meaning there's going to be lots of surprises and twists and turns in the film, things you did not see coming. That's addressing things that's going on in the world. And so we've submitted to TIFF, which is the big one out here in Canada. We got VIF as well. We submitted to Montreal. We've submitted to Whistler in terms of some local ones that we'll look to attend. Just did
Wow.
Calgary yesterday. Some of the big ones we're still going to do. We've got Rain Dance, Atlanta. Then there'll be some for next year. So ones like Cannes and Sundance, since we missed the deadline for this year, but we're eligible for doing it next year. So we'll do
Wow.
the festival circuit. Hopefully, some amazing things will manifest out of that. And of course, I'm putting that up on my vision board as well. I'm
Let's
saying those
go.
affirmations to myself
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
hopefully attract that into our lives. And then from there, we'll start to like go out to like the American film market. That's going to be in Vegas in
Hmm.
November. And this is like a film market where you go looking for either, if you're a buyer, you're looking to buy projects,
Yes.
or you're a filmmaker like us looking to find distributors. At the end
Right.
of the day, we want to get signed by Disney or Netflix or Amazon Prime and Hulu and some of these major platforms that distribute content. And so that's the goal. That's the vision. We're super excited for it. This week coming up, we're going to be getting ready for a much anticipated premiere with just cast and crew. They call it a wrap party. So,
Hmm.
the project's wrap. Everyone is eager to see it. So this will just be for your friends, your family, cast and
Wow.
crew, maybe some select industry people who will get to see the film for the first time. We'll do a Q&A session. And so we're looking forward to doing that in a couple weeks and showing everyone this film that we're very, very proud of.
Wow, I mean that it's something to be proud of course, because it's you're doing the whole festival circuit. You're putting it out there the biggest way possible as well, and again, you're making your dreams come true, Daniel. It's
Yeah.
it's it's quite inspiring, and um, best of luck to that film. Best of luck, of course, when
Fingers
when it's
crossed.
out. Yes, precisely. We want it picked up. Hopefully, you get picked up with this big productions, and again, turning not just one of your many dreams into a big reality, and being an inspiration to other people. Daniel, we're running out of time, but I really want to touch up on this because I'm
Yes.
very interested. Talk to me about your music career. Talk to me about the collaborations that you did with these big names. You are a hip hop artist, an accomplished one. You've collaborated with notable figures like Mocha Only and Cannabis. What has been the most memorable experiences in your music career, and how has it influenced your other creative endeavors?
Oh, I appreciate that because music is a passion of mine, and
Hmm.
writing and filmmaking is, and hip hop's my heart. It really
Hmm.
is. It's
Hmm.
it's it's one of those lifebloods for me. And
Mm-hmm.
I would say that cannabis story I told you, that's to me, that's one of those big, big moments of my career where I'm seeing him on stage and I'm looking at like, wow, I'm having deja vu on stage. Like I've literally made figuratively my dream come true. I think
Wow.
another big one for me was opening up for Nelly and being
Mm-hmm.
on this big stage in front of thousands of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the whole crowd, swinging their hands, saying hip hop hooray, and,
Yeah.
getting them to jump, jump.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that was another moment where it was just like, wow, I feel like I'm a part of the hip hop history. I'm a part of the story that's the narrative of hip hop. I
Wow.
continue to make music, not as much as I used to, but I host the
Mm-hmm.
Caribbean festivals every year, the Maple Ridge Caribbean Festival, as well
Right.
as the Caribbean Days Festival, which is going to be coming
Wow.
up in July. And I am a lover of just any kinds of music, from
Uh-huh.
reggae like Bob Marley to soca and calypso like we have down in the Caribbean, like in Trinidad and Tobago,
Uh-huh.
and hip hop is like it's all like comes from African music, and
Mm-hmm.
so hip hop's like a form of African music, and so that's a way of me giving back. I'll have some new tracks in The Guardian that'll be upcoming. I'm looking to work with this young Nigerian group and do some more music out there. My brother and I, we got a group called Blunt Bros, as well as a group in Arizona called Coalition. So I'm all about one, building bridges, not putting up walls. I'm not about diss tracks and seeing who can insult who worse. We've seen a lot of negativity in hip hop with two of the biggest names in hip hop, and shame on them because we have a job as
Mm-hmm.
people with platforms and as people with voices to
Yeah.
give tangible quality content. You
Mm-hmm.
have to think
Yeah.
about what the audience is taking from that. Are they taking
Right.
negativity and hate, or are they taking
Right.
optimism and
Mm-hmm.
jewels of information that they can use and apply it to their life? And so
Yes. Yes.
I would encourage everyone who does music is don't just do music for yourself, although do it
Mm-hmm.
for yourself, but do it for the next generation. Do it for the
Right.
younger people. Do it for my son,
Mm-hmm.
and talk to him in a way that's going to make his life that much better. And if I could
Wow.
share one final kind of anecdote with you as we wrap it up, I started doing some guest lectures here at the Simon Fraser University.
Right.
And I want to tell you about the story of the butterfly effect and why putting
Right.
it out there is so crucial because it reverberates throughout the cosmos. I
Mm-hmm.
was hosting the Caribbean Festival out in Coquitlam 2 years ago, and a gentleman who was running for mayor, Adel Gamar, really nice gentleman, he came up to me and was telling me how the festival is so great for the community in Coquitlam. And I agreed, and we had a great conversation. We stayed in touch. And last year, he was out in Egypt, and he said, I missed the Caribbean Festival, but I was thinking about you, and I'm starting this leadership summit, and I'd like for you to come and host and be the
Uh-huh.
MC, maybe do a performance, as well as
Right.
do some inspiring kind of Tony Robbins talks in your own way, Dan
Mm-hmm.
talks. And I came and I did that, met some amazing people. And I met this one special lady. Her name's Hadia Samin, and she's
Mm-hmm.
a professor up at SFU. And so we kept in touch on LinkedIn, and she said, "Hey, I loved what you did at the summit. Would you love to come and do a session to my class and talk about everything like visualization, manifestation, vision
Wow.
boards, goal setting,
Mm-hmm.
gratitude, and how we can apply all of these things to just benefit our lives and our prosperity?" And so I've gone and I've done a few sessions with them now last semester and another one this semester. And how did it all start? It started out with that first butterfly effect of being at the festival, speaking to people, getting in touch with people like Adele, who would then put me on to do the summit, meet people like then Hadia to then be able to be a
Wow.
lecturer at university. And so you never realize just how such a small little thing can have this trajectory and echo and
Wow.
butterfly effect to do even greater things in the future.
Wow. I mean, Daniel, it is quite your story. I mean, that's the story of your life, right? You start small, put it out there, butterfly effect turns into bigger things. You just have
Yeah.
to believe, you just have to visualize, I mean, I'm a huge fan of everything you do. I'm a huge fan of your journaling. I'm a huge fan of the vision boards. I'm a huge fan of visualizing and putting a good word out there. Like no negativity, build people up because we have responsibilities with the words that we put out there and the future generations that we are going to inspire. And you
Absolutely.
truly are an inspiration, Daniel. Um, of course, there's a lot more to touch up on this, but Daniel, it has been quite the ride. It has been quite the episode as well. Thank you for sharing your dreams to us and the inspiration to turn them into realities. Daniel, anything else you would like to say? Oh, before that, where can we find you? Where can we connect with you? Where are you most active in? Where can we find this new book that's coming out? How can we, we want to see your films. We want to see those coming up, upcoming films. Let us know, where can we know all of this, please?
For sure. Thank you so much. Like, I love the call to action. So I'm on LinkedIn. That's where you're going to find me. That's where we can connect. We can, share content. And if there's any way that I can help you out and any of your listeners and audience members, that's where we can formulate. You can also find me on YouTube. That's where you'll find a lot of the videos and the content that we do. And then definitely in terms of books, whether it be Me, My Dreams, and I, or Wise Words from a Father, or coming soon to a library or bookstore near you, A
Right.
to Z of who you are, you'll find on Amazon. What I would tell you guys is this as my final thoughts. Believe and you will achieve, visualize and it will materialize. And I'll leave you with a rap. I'll kick a rhyme that'll intertwine your dreams and reality within your mind. Then combine the body and the soul so that you shine and forever glow. You know, oh, of course you do. Why do we hold ourselves back? As we often do. The creator of your destiny, the boss is you. So if you're losing in life, then the loss is you. You. It's all up to you. You. It's all up to you. It's all up to you. So what you gonna do?
Oh my gosh. Like, let's go. Thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you for closing that out. Best way, best closing to the episode. Thank you so much for coming on here, Daniel, and to all our audience and listeners out there. See you on the next one.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.